with steampunk, it's like you like it or you don't. It's usually just playfulness, you know, and you meet a lot of people that just like having fun.
When people can't understand what steampunk is or isn't, they generally just use that de facto, well, it's time traveling people who came from, say, maybe the Victorian era. But because it's time travel, that leaves it open for just about any era.
Steampunks tend to come up with personas, or, you know, as they sometimes call them, steam zonas, you know, sort of a little play on words.
If you go to a convention and you meet someone who's in their steam sauna, if they're hardcore, they'll be able to tell you an entire origin story.
I'm a time traveler. I've been trying to get in the National Academy of the Sciences and prove that I can time travel.
They have done their research. They try to make their inventions feasible.
And it also brings in the science fiction aspect. Steampunk grew out of science fiction, and if you're creating a backstory and a persona, you're creating a science fiction story, so to speak, a steampunk-specific science fiction story.
We threw around some ideas when we were kind of creating our backstory, because I think it's important to kind of know who you're going to be if you're going to play that. And it is play, it's cosplay, it's kind of life play, really.
I like the do-it-yourself aspect. I like the idea of taking something that's modern and trying to utilizing just stuff from the past, and seeing that come together is really cool. Steam, gears, sprockets, things that are considered archaic, and then trying to make a gun out of it that looks like it's made in the 1800s, but it has a futuristic look to it.
I paint toy guns and try and make them look like things that might have come from a different era or an alternate universe. You know, there's hours into masking and painting and then masking more. So, I mean, in one gun I could probably spend 6 hours of actual time in front of it. But it's fun. It's something I look forward to coming to do, and every day it allows me to do something a little bit different.
In steampunk, a lot of times people create their own patterns, they create their own tutorials for clothing and for accessories, and most of the time they're more than willing to share those. Most of the time they're more than willing to swap skills. When it came to building this corset, a corset's generally going to cost you, if it's handmade, $200 to $300, and when you factor in the cost of materials and the countless hours that it takes to make a corset, it's really not unfair.
I'm not hardcore enough to walk around in corsets all day. I would faint within 5 minutes, and I think there's an aspect of that harshness of costuming that people probably wouldn't endure. However, the aesthetic is beautiful, and it is starting to creep up into the catwalks, and steampunk fashion is really starting to hit mainstream. But hopefully that's kind of paving the way so those designers and costumers can rise up and kind of have their own lines and really keep steampunk where it should be, which is with the creators. Music has been the hardest thing for me in working on this book.
So yes, we got The Cog is Dead, and we're here to play some music for you. So, let's get right to it.
I mean, if you listen to it, there's no one way it's going. There's no certain sound. Every song could be very much different. Cog is Dead is a great example of that.
We have one last song. It's about a giant sea creature, a mechanical sea creature.
It's the lyrics that make it steampunk, which is another thing you look at, what the stories are about.
There's an ancient legend, an oceanic tale, an underwater monster, not a fish and not a whale. It isn't quite a creature, it isn't quite machine, and you won't know what hit you till you hear your crewman scream. Beneath the ocean, it's waiting in the dark. When there's stormy weather, it will tear your ship apart. Its tentacles are massive, its teeth are made of steel. You may call it myth, but I assure you that it's real. When the waves come rolling in and lightning fills the sky, know that the Leviathan is nigh. If he grabs onto your boat, he'll never let you go. Soon you'll join 1,000
One of my favorite things basically is if you can picture yourself listening to that music while on your steampunk adventures, then it fits.
When I was a kid growing up, I loved Classics Comics Illustrated. And that's where I first read Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, one of his novels called Rober the Conqueror, H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. I grew up reading that stuff as part of what I read. It was adventure. I was a little boy that grew up loving adventure.
I mean, the spirit of sci-fi and fantasy and horror, I feel like, is encapsulated in steampunk, which is trying to explore new avenues of thinking and new realities and just kind of asking, you know, where are we going, where have we been?
Every year for like the last 3 years I've entered some kind of contest with some kind of steampunk-based tattoo because it's unique. Not everybody gets to see, like, you know, a steampunk girl riding a rocket or something.
I would say that my favorite aspects and the things that put me in awe the most are the art and makers. People who can devote so much time to making these imaginative machines or these imaginative worlds come to life really resonates with me.
It's becoming a bigger and bigger part of our life because we do enjoy it. It is fun, it's beautiful, it's something that can be respected. It's not trashy, it's not awful, it's actually quite lovely, and there's a certain ideal that comes with it that I think people should maybe bring back into their business lives, because there's a certain amount of respect, and a handshake meant your word, and your word meant the truth.
You fall into a character, and so typically with steampunk, it's two areas I really consider. It's the Victorian style, where everyone's very proper and very Britishy and very polite, or they get into like the Wild Wild West version. They can still be Billy, you know, Kickbutt, but they fall into a character of being more proper and nice.
It promotes community in a way that I've never seen before, and it's not just here in the States. I got to spend some time with the French Steampunks last September, and they're an amazing community. And they all get along and they all kind of unite under this umbrella. So it's very cool. It's something that I've never seen before.
In Florida, we're a growing steampunk community, as the places like Seattle and Portland, where you already have really big congregations of steampunks. You have to come into steampunk with an open mind, but you don't have to be a certain type of person. You don't have to be of a certain religious background or a certain race or, you know, a certain socioeconomic status. You don't have to be a college student. You don't have to be an older person.
I think it's a great way to interact. I think it's a great way to mingle with like-minded individuals. You gotta have this level of not caring so much about what you do.
I may not always dress day to day in steampunk, but I can't see myself ever wandering away from the community.
I think that steampunk has, you know, long legs, and I think it's just something that'll probably become more and more popular as you get to the stage where Grandma and Grandpa say, "Oh, I remember when I did the steampunk too."
You can make steampunk whatever it is you want it to be.
In every genre, there's going to be the purists who say, no, you're not doing it right. But hey, if you feel like you're doing it at the level that you want to do it at, then you're doing it right.
You can go to convention, put a lot of work into an outfit over a course of 2 weeks, and go to convention, and then you're like a superstar. People are taking pictures of you.
I see steampunk, and I suppose this is more because of my emphasis on Victorian science fiction, as optimistic. You know, we're having wonderful adventures with these incredible machines.
I don't believe that there is a definitive steampunk because it's ever changing. I mean, steampunk has changed a whole lot since we wrote the book. We started writing the book in 2009. It didn't come out to 2011, but within that period, there's all sorts of, you know, new stuff happening. It was impossible to keep up.
You can be whoever you are and bring whoever you are into steampunk, and you know, and help formulate your own definition of it.
Oh, Mr. Hamilton, what have you done? Look at this terrible trend you've begun. You make me sick, you contemptible dog. I blame you for the death of the cog. Clocks used to be such magnificent things, beautiful powerful sprockets and dazzling springs, but you gave the people your digital beast, and in turn now all gears are deceased. How things have changed from when I was a boy. Clockwork would tick and would bring me much joy, but with your advent there's no need to wind. Everything charming has been left behind. Oh, Mr. Hamilton, you dirty fiend, your modern timepiece is cruel and obscene. I was a lover of gears great and small. They all were my friends and you've murdered them all. Why should a person so foul get away? Hamilton, you're gonna pay! So, Mr. Hamilton, just watch your back. Hide all those digital clocks on your rack. They'll soon end up smashed to bits